Hey guys, it's Deborah. So I wanted to talk to you about the connection between Abraham and when he was born and just different parallels with him and the rapture and the year that we're in, 2023. I've talked about it in my last few videos, and I think other people are talking about this right now, but I saw this website that did these amazing connections, which somebody sent me a video, and then from then I found this website. So I want to talk to you guys about it because it's really exciting and really cool. So, most of you or many of you may know that Abraham was born in the year 1948. So I'll explain a little bit more about how that's calculated or how that works, but he was born in year 1948. That's really big. Obviously, because Israel became a nation again in 1948, but Abraham was born from the beginning of mankind, like Adam, to 1948. So I'm going to explain that, how that time works, and then just tie it into a bunch of other things. But obviously, this is a huge parallel, and I know you guys know this, but I have some new things to add to that. This 1948 connection between Abraham and Israel. So I'm just going to talk to you a minute about just how the dating works. I'm just going to read this quickly. It says, you're familiar with BC dating. Previously, this referred to before Christ. Today, however, culture has replaced that with before Common Era, BCE, because they obviously want to take Christ out of it. Likewise, you're familiar with AD. A lot of people think it's after death, like after Christ's death, but it's actually Anno Domini. I'm probably saying that wrong. Latin for in the year of our Lord. Now replaced with ACE after Common Era. And then this person was writing, now what you may not be familiar with is AM dating, Anno Mundi, Latin for in the year of the world. This calculation begins with Adam. So the reason I wanted to read this is because I'm going to be using AM. Abraham was born in 1948 AM. So it's nothing to do with before Christ. It's all about the first man being created. So yeah. I'm just going to read this too. It says, some speculate on the duration of time that Adam and Eve were in the garden and assume that the AM dating starts with creation. I believe the Bible, however, gives us a date specifically for the fall of man. The AM dating begins here at the entrance of the death into the creation and therefore into humanity. So from the fall. So we don't know how long they were in the garden. And so that's why I'm going to go from there. So here's a chart of Adam all the way to Joseph, but we're going to stop at Abraham. That's what's kind of important right now. It just goes through all the lineage. So you can see Adam, Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, and then obviously a lot more names because I can't say those names, but it goes to Abraham. And if you look up close here, so yeah, it says Abraham was born in 1948. You can see a little closer here, and then has a 75. I think they put that there because when he was 75 years old, he was called out of, I think, Mesopotamia, or wherever. Where was he from? I forget. And then he went and started following God. He was obviously following like idols from his father's house before. And so, yeah, it's a connection, and I'll explain with the 75 and what's important here. Anyway, so here it says in Genesis 12:4, so Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. Okay, not Mesopotamia, or it's the same thing, I don't remember, but that's not the point right now. But he departed out of Haran, and it's going to matter. This is really cool. So here you see it was 2023 AM when he was 75. So when God calls him and like takes him out of what is like the heathenistic world, it's year 2023. I mean, come on, that's crazy. Because think about it. Say we are taken, and I'm just saying, like maybe, say we are taken out of this world, those who are following Christ, out of like the sinful world, the earth, and brought to the Father's house in 2023. Well, that's what happened because Abraham was taken out of like the sinful world, brought out into the wilderness to be with God. But like inevitably, it's like taken out of the sinful world in 2023. And then could that be the year that's AM, but this is 2023, obviously, whatever you want to call it, AD. And it's basically the same year, but there's more. So the article where I found all this information, it believes there's 7 years after Abraham was called out in 2023. And well, let me just read what it says. It says, now 7 years into his journey, God has been ratifying a covenant with Abraham with the establishment of covenant practices. God changes his name. God shares a covenant meal with him. God walks through the blood, swearing his promises to Abraham. Abraham is to cut himself, circumcision. But interestingly, it takes a while for him to obey this particular command. Now, the covenant that he makes, it's all in Genesis 15. So if you want to read that, Genesis 15, I'm not sure how he gets 7 years. Anyway, let's keep reading. At the time of this covenant, Genesis 15, God is walking through the blood of the animals that Abraham split in two. The year this took place was exactly 7 years after he left his father's house, 2023 to 2030. And then it says, so to wrap up Abraham's life to this point, born 1948 a.m., leaves his natural home to go to a place God prepared for him, 2023, journeys into Egypt to escape a famine, defeats armies, and frees Lot from captivity, pays tithes to Melchizedek. Okay, so basically what he's saying is there's a 7-year time when he makes this covenant, and it takes him that long to circumcise himself and stuff like that. So he also shares like a covenant meal in these 7 years. And I'll show you the parallel, which this person in the article is trying to explain. But what we're saying here is what I should say is I don't know how he gets the 7 years. So I'm going to link the article I'm going to pin it in the comments. So that one part I don't have all the research on, but it is still amazing that at 2023 is when he leaves, the land of sin or whatever. But if this is correct, then there's a 7-year time period with him like communing with God, having a meal, like 7 years in heaven and the wedding feast and all that stuff, till 2030. And remember, this is all AM. So this is him. So Abraham is making this, God is making this covenant with Abraham for 7 years. Now, it's obviously a longer than 7-year covenant, but it's what this article is saying is it's a 7-year time frame when he's spending this time with God, and God is teaching him about different things. He has this whole ritual thing where he cuts animals in two, and you can read it all in Genesis 15. And that's when he tells him his seed is going to be as many as the stars in the sky. He says, look up. And Abraham's like, I don't even have a son. So anyway, this is this time period. And it does parallel, if it is 7 years, it does parallel us coming out of this world and then spending, 7 years with God, with the Father in heaven, while the tribulation is down on earth, and having this meal and this time with him. So that's another parallel. But one thing that is very interesting is, what is Israel turning this year, May 14th? So this was from last year. They were celebrating their 74th year of independence. So they are turning 75. And Abraham is the father of the Jewish nation. You have the Abraham Accords. You have the Abrahamic house coming out. Everything is revolving around Abraham, and the enemy side, they know it. Like, the Abraham Accords is literally a covenant with many, and literally that has to be confirmed in the tribulations. That's how it starts, with a confirmation of an already existing covenant with many. And it's just interesting they called it the Abrahamic Accords. Sorry if you heard something, I got a text. Anyway, so I think what I'm saying here is that there are more than one connection. It's not just the 1948 connection. You have 1948 being when Israel's born and Abraham's born. Then you have 2023. This person in the chart says, could there be a rapture, ? And even in the article, he's like, don't sell your house. Don't do that kind of thing. But definitely these are huge signs. And the verse where it says it's God's good pleasure to hide a matter for kings to seek it out. I'm paraphrasing, but the one I'm talking about. He hides things for kings to seek it out in the Bible. So anyway, it says that here on this little chart, Abraham, again, left his home in 2023. So these parallel completely. And then at the top, you see this tribulation years. So the top would be AD, the bottom is AM. And you see that it really parallels 7 years of tribulation, but from 2023 to 2030, there was that time period of Abraham just spending time with God and making that covenant and stuff. Now, there's another connection through Jesus making a new covenant in 30 AD. And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to link the article, and he goes into detail about that, how it even links Christ into with the new covenant and the timing, because what he believes is that the resurrection happened in 30 AD, which is another parallel. And he's saying, so it's almost like Christ made a new covenant with us in 30 AD. 2030, God made a covenant with Abraham. So will 2030, so 30 AD, he made the covenant on the cross. 2030 AM, he made a covenant with Abraham. So 2030 AD, doesn't it make sense another covenant might happen, which would be the millennial reign time period? So I hope that didn't confuse you, but I'll link that article. All I wanted to do was really say there's more than just 1948 connection with Abraham, but there is no way this is a coincidence. There is no way that 2023 is the year he left when he was 75, and Israel is turning 75, and it's 2023. That was AM, now it's AD. There's a 2030 connection and 7-year connection. And also, I had said in my last, no, not my last video, I think the video prior to my last video, it was about Enoch, the book of Enoch. Guys, I'm telling you right now, it literally says in the book of Enoch that the watchers were put into the ground to be judged and held captive for, it literally says straight up 70 generations. So what that means is, it says, the angels who came and had children with the women and who taught them all the bad stuff, and they had the Nephilim and all that stuff, they were then put into in the prison, in the earth, inside the earth, for, Enoch says, 70 generations. All you have to do is count from Noah's flood, 70 generations. You only have to just count it, and it brings you to the 7,000th year, which ties into, if you see my video, it ties into now. It literally, I hope you guys are understanding, it literally spells it out when the judgment will come in the book of Enoch. It says 70 generations there in the earth. Another cool thing that was just pointed out to me was that I randomly said, well, hey, let's do some math. And I've said before, math is not my best subject. So I said, let's do some math. Let's count from the time of Noah's flood, which I forget the year because I said it in my video, but let's count from the time of Noah's flood, 70 generations. And then we'll know, if it brings us to 7,000 years, we can know what a generation is. We can know what a generation is. And I just randomly picked 75 years. So I times 75 times 70 and added when Noah's flood started, and it brought us to the 7,000th year. I know that might be confusing to you guys if you see the video. So not my very last one, but the one before, where it says the fig tree generation connected with Enoch or something like that. Literally, it's in the book of Enoch. We have the answer. We just don't know the exact day or anything, but we have the amount of time. It matches the fig tree generation. It matches Abraham. It matches everything. It all matches. So here's another interesting thing. Let me pop it on the screen. So this article I found online, it's a Jewish website. And you know how people are all arguing oh, what's a generation? We don't know what a generation is. 120 years, could be anything. What makes the most sense, obviously, is 70 to 80. But it's just interesting that Jewish people believe a generation is from Psalm 90. At the bottom there, this article was talking about significance of the number 70. And it just gave all these different things that were significant about the number 70 in Israel and how God uses the number 70. But there it says 70 is considered to be a generation of human according to Psalm 90. And we know in Psalm 90:10 it says 70 to 80 years. So even the Jews believe that's a generation. I didn't we don't know what they believe, or no one really talks about what they believe, but according to this article, which is a Jewish website or whatever, it's 70 to 80 years, which matches what I was saying about the book of Enoch. 70 generations they're put in from the flood. You literally just have to do the calculation. You just have to choose what's a generation. Well, what's 70 generations? Well, the Jews seem to believe it's from Psalm 90:10. And like I said, I just times it by 75 because it's 70 to 80. So I just did 75. But that works perfectly. And I didn't even know, that's not true. I think I knew that I'm not sure if I knew that Abraham came out at 75, but it wasn't on my mind. I can tell you that right now. I just picked a number. But now the significance with 75 is really, really, really amazing because it's when he left the evil world. So will we leave the evil world at 75 when Israel turns 75? for a 7-year time period, just like what happened with him, and 2030 being that significant time with, like I said, 30 AD. People believe that's when the resurrection happened, and so there's a lot there too with that. But my point is there were so many connections, and I wanted to share that with you guys, and I will link the article and pin it in the comments. And yeah, I just think there's just more to it than I thought. There's no way this is a coincidence. So if 2023 isn't, the year of the rapture and tribulation, then it's definitely a significant year. But I really think this is it, honestly. Well, for so many reasons, but I'm just saying these connections are no coincidence. So I hope that was interesting for you guys. The Bible literally goes out of its way to say, God goes out of his way to say that 2023 is significant, because he goes out of his way to say when Abraham was 75. So 75 is significant because God doesn't always tell the ages of everything, but we know Israel's 75. We know from the calculation of that chart I showed you, from Adam to Abraham, we know that there is that it was 1,948 years when he was born. So we got that math. So we know 1948 is significant. We know 75 is significant because God goes out of his way to say he was 75 when he left. And Israel's about to turn 75, May 14th, this May 14th. And we know 2023 is significant because we know that was the year 2023 AM when he left the evil world. So we know these things are significant, and 2030 seems to be significant if this article is correct, with this whole 7-year period with Abraham and communing with God and, the covenant in this time period, and that Jesus died and rose again on 30 AD. So we have a lot of parallels too with 2030 AM, 2030 AD, and just 30 AD. So there's a lot there too. So anyway, you can check out that article. I thought it was really cool. Like I said, there's more connections than I thought there even was. And when you wrap it up with what I found in First Enoch, praise God, it wasn't me, but when I found that, all glory be to God, then you have the connection again with the 75. Because 75 times 70 generations brings you to the 7,000th year. It's literally in there. Sorry, I just get so excited because I'm like, it's what just happened here? It's in there. It's in the book of Enoch. So anyway, that's that. On another note, I just wanted to see if anybody's interested in hearing like a bit more about my testimony, or how why I started making these videos and my backstory and stuff like that. I have new subscribers, and I just always take for granted that they know that they're all OG. Like, I know a lot of you are OG and have watched my channel for so long and know exactly why I'm making these videos. But I, was talking to this friend, and he's a new subscriber, and he was saying, it's interesting to know the story of why I'm making these videos. So if you're interested in hearing a bit more about me, then I am fine to do that. I'll pray on that. You can put that in the comments if you're new and you're like, hey, what's up with you and why did you start making these videos and whatever. Like, I can tell you my backstory. It's extremely impactful. It's extremely huge and important. And I've told it many times, but then I stopped for a long time because it's hard to talk about. And also YouTube would give me all these strikes when I talked about it. So anyway, I would just say it in a different fashion this time. So let me know if you're interested. Either way, I might do it because I might pray on it. I mean, I will pray on it, and I'll see what God says about that. But I never really thought about new subscribers in that way. And oh yeah, I decided I'm probably going to be doing a series. Should the Lord tarry, should he allow me, I'm going to do a series kind of on mysteries that I'm finding in the Bible and that other people are finding, like amazing connections and super cool mysteries that I found or other people have found, just to kind of like help you guys just stay awake and stay watchful. So I'll probably be doing that, and that's my plan next. So I hope this was interesting for you guys, and yeah, I guess I will talk to you again in the next video, or hopefully see you in the air. Until next time, God bless and shalom.